Our Prime Minister has visited Lakshadweep, has taken some nice photographs. Since he himself is a very big enthusiast with respect to nature and a lot of other things that he has done. So a small photograph has actually spiraled a lot of things with respect to social media. And there is a huge backlash from the Maldives government as well as the diplomats of Maldives by unwanted comments from the Maldives diplomats. And I'm sure all of you know and the final result is removal of those diplomats from from the Maldives government. Now, currently, the issue with respect to India and Maldives is Maldives has always been pro-India, especially because their major amount of the economy of Maldives runs through Indian tourism. That is the most important point. But recently, uh, the newly elected person is more inclining towards China, and his recent visit to China has also sparked a lot of things. This and Modi's and the Prime Minister's presence in Lakshadweep and the photographs has actually exacerbated the situation in such a way that from now on India is not going to maintain any relations with Maldives. So this small things is creating a huge rift between two countries. So it is going towards the nationalist issue. Such kind of nationalism where everyone feels that their nation is great than the other nation. It is leading to a concept called hypernationalism. Please remember, this is very important. Hypernationalism, where nation 1 feels greater than nation 2, or nation 2 feels greater than nation 1. So the effect of this is Maldives versus India, which is not good because Maldives has been a very very good neighbor for us. At the same time, India has been a very 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 helpful neighbor for Maldives, and the relations with Maldives and India has been very good for pretty long time, except that the recent change, the newly elected person is a little bit pro China. So that is the issue. So let's look at the this issue is fundamentally in terms of effect on the society. You can talk about hyper nationalism. Otherwise, it's it comes under your international relations, and what can be done, what is not supposed to be done. We'll have a small discussion on it. So moving on. So please look here. So our Delhi guys, our diplomats have responded very nicely, saying that they were displeasured with respect to what has been given. So it is controversy surrounding PM's Noodles Lakshadweep visit. So lot of proactive remarks. So as I said, the remarks were there and they were all removed. So this part is not necessary. What is official reaction? India's official response through the diplomatic channels was tough and it was correct by conveying their outrage, because India has always been pro Maldives. Even a lot of film actors and all these people have been pro Maldives, and they have always encouraged people to go to Maldives, visit Maldives. The result of which is Maldives economy and people were more happy because the economy increased, because it's a tourist based country, therefore a lot of income comes from tourism, and the majority population comes from India only. So keeping this in mind, they should have been very careful with us, but they didn't do, because I'm sure China must have given something else. Now, the problem with that post itself, it's not per se problem, but the reaction of the social media and the people was something which was unexpected. So this social media escalation, you can use this how media influences policies. You can write this question: how media, especially the social media, influences diplomatic relations. You can keep this as one of the side headings and start working on this. So this social media warriors exacerbated the situation, hindering the diplomatic freedom and risking the strained relations in the region. So the effect is very important. So the effect of this is social media hype, creating a tough diplomatic situation, and At some point of time, if this increases, the ties have to break. Once the tie breaks, it's very easy to lose a relation, but it is very hard to sustain a relation. So social media response was a little on the overside. One way, yes, I can understand, this is our self-respect, who are there to comment on our PM, absolutely, no denial in that. But the response should be through diplomatic channels and in a nicer way, first, second time, and then if things are going worse, then we'll take the other path. But otherwise, breaking the relation, not a great thing. Maintaining a relation is very important. So keeping that in mind, please look at it. So what is a problem with this kind of hyper-nationalism is consequences. Please remember, it highlights the dangers of hyper-nationalism for India and Maldives, impacting the cooperation and straining the relations. As I said, now because of this problem, what happens is freedom from action of diplomacy. This is another very, very important point that you have to write for your mains answer. Freedom of action of diplomacy. Hyper-nationalists limit India's diplomatic freedom and alienate the regional friends, emphasizing the need for prudent and constructive engagement. So the problem, this effect is very, very important. So a lot of people coming forward, giving views and breaking relations, not a great thing. Therefore, keeping this in mind, please note this point, it is very, very important. So the problem with Maldives' new government is, please try to understand, the new Maldivian government elected on an anti-India platform, harming its interest by needless provoking India. So that is a problem. A little bit of anti-Indian attitude is there because they're all pro-China. That is the issue. Now what is the diplomatic engagement that we have? Please remember, blame on Maldives. The controversy originated with respect to offensive remarks reflecting real hostility despite the president's subsequent actions against the deputy ministers. Now, another major problem which happened is there is an overreaction with respect to social media, calls to boycott Maldives. This is unwanted. Potentially, when you boycott Maldives, what happens is potentially China will take advantage. So that is another major point. So India should have patient engagement with respect to Maldives. So that is also very, very important. So if you are boycotting Maldives, China will take advantage of it. Once China takes care of it, the problem is if Maldives comes into the picture, I'm sure all of you know what is called string of pearls. So if Maldives come into picture, what happens is China will be successful in creating the string of pearls around India. I'm sure all of you know what is string of pearls. India and China, what it is doing is it is building its own bases around India and it will contain India. So what happens is geographically you will be stuck. That is called string of pearls. Throughout the oceans they put bases throughout India, and trade becomes difficult, economy becomes different, and everything will be based on Chinese policy. So fundamentally, slowly China wants to take over India in that way. So that theory is called string of pearls, very, very important. If we lose Maldives, that means another pearl will be added on the Indian side. So if you don't want to add extra pearl to China, it's better that we maintain very good relations with Maldives. That is the whole point. So long-term strategies, Lakshadweep visit is first step. Now another problem here is Lakshadweep is always, a lot of people, whenever we talk about union territories and all that, people usually talk much about Andaman and Nicobar, but not much about Lakshadweep. Lakshadweep itself is a very, very beautiful place, and I think the Prime Minister going there is one beautiful step ahead for increasing the tourism in Lakshadweep, and the people of Lakshadweep were very, very happy when the Prime Minister has done something like that. So I think that's the first step towards increasing the tourism of the country through Lakshadweep. So, and not depending too much on Maldives. So it's another step economically, socially, politically also. I think the PM's visit to Lakshadweep is a very beautiful thing. So that is also very important. So if you know that, that is more than sufficient. So please remember these two things. Hyper-nationalism is one thing, string of pearls. These two concepts are very, very important.